Okay, great. So thanks everyone. That's actually the first time I'm doing a webinar, and it's the less stressful kind of public speaking experience ever because I'm the only one speaking. I can't hear anyone. I can't see anyone. The only feedback I get is from the chat. So if you want to say something or whatever, just say through the chat. But that's very very cool. So thanks for having me there. So today I'm going to talk about social selling. So it's the social selling starter kit for salespeople. It's going to be a presentation around like 45 minutes, and then I'll open for questions. So the questions will be more on the chat. It's all recorded. You will receive the recording, I think by Monday, in your mailbox. And excuse my voice, I'm having a bit of a cold, so I may have to cough a bit here and there, but everything should be fine. So let's get started. So a bit about me. So my name is Thibaut Suiris, and I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Labs. And so what I do at Sales Labs is I train and coach like B2B founders and their sales teams to actually create like more conversations through social selling. So exactly through LinkedIn mostly. And also I train companies like moving from selling to SMBs to mid-market. So typically like helping companies that are selling contracts under 12,000 euro annual contract value to actually boost that to go up to 100,000. So that's like this thing where I work there. And before I go a bit more in details into the content, what I'm going to be talking about, I just wanted to tell you a bit about my backstory, and you'll see why it's important after. So the thing is, I was born in Switzerland, in Geneva, and I've kind of always loved selling. And the first thing I had to sell was when I was 15. I was actually going to the local airfield and selling airplane cleaning services. So I was going to very wealthy airplane owners and proposing them to clean their plane for $20 an hour. And I worked pretty well. So I really loved it. I really loved kind of having my little business there. And that's when I started in sales. And then what I did, I went to something a bit more. When I was 18, I went to just do my studies in Canada, where I studied like marketing. I don't kind of remember anything about that right now. But then in the parallel, I was actually building a business called Buddy Pilots, which is like a private, like it was a how to say, like a platform for general aviation to manage planes for aircraft owners or flight schools. And that miserably failed. We invested almost 1 million that we lost, without doing a single euro or dollar of sale. And that was really a great experience for me. And so then, when I was there, I had no more business. I was around 24 at the time, and I had to find something, to kind of live. So I decided to move to Berlin to work in a company called Applause, which is like a crowd testing company. So we were selling testing services, and that's where I really learned how to do like B2B sales. Got a lot of great training, and I raised the French market. So I started from pretty much zero, and brought the French market to 2.5 million AR within 2 years and a half. So that was something really cool. That's where I learned a lot of things. Then I decided to move on to another company, bigger pay, and I was kind of annoyed. I was just tired of working for this company, and so I stayed there for 5 months. So because I just couldn't work there, I basically realized I couldn't work with the boss anymore, and I was a bit tired of just like all the bullshit you get into some kind of corporate world sometimes. So and one thing that also led to doing what I'm doing right now is that I met a guy called Skip Miller, who's like a sales trainer in the US. And this company where I worked for 5 months was actually training us there. So they flew us to California to train with this guy. And after 3 hours of training, I was like, okay, I need to do what he's doing. So that's my dream job. That's really what I want to do. And fast forward to now, so it's a year and a half later, I'm actually doing my dream job. So selling sales training and doing that for a living. So that's a bit about my backstory, and you'll see why it's important later on. If you have any question, again, I will say it again. Just go type them in the Zoom chat. I mean, in the chat. And let me just check the update about the participant. We have 12 participants. Okay, perfect. So moving on. So one thing you can start doing that is important, and you'll see why after, is to add me on LinkedIn. So the best way to do that is simply to take your phone. So if you take where's my phone? Your app there, and you have your LinkedIn app in the phone, you go unlock your phone, and there's a small kind of bar here, the search bar, and there's a small QR code icon. You click there, and then you can scan the icon. So if I scan here, for example, I'll show you how it works. Up, it recognizes directly my profile and does that. or you just add me there, Thibaut Suiris. That's going to be pretty easy. And you're going to need that. So you're going to need to be kind of connected and know about me, because I'm going to do like a small competition with you. And the idea is there, I'm going to give a free LinkedIn consultation to the person who has the most like and comments. So the point is very simple. It's a point system. One like is 1 point. One comment on one of your posts is 10 points. So if you have like many comments and a few likes, that's going to be actually something that works really well. So I'll give you a bit like of time to do that. I'm just going to grab a drink, and you can do that. Don't forget to mention me in the post. You basically have nothing to lose. That's going to be your first kind of starting into social selling if you didn't post things before. And really the idea is try to grab comments there. So ask maybe questions, and then we'll see at the end who won that. The one person gets the free LinkedIn strategy session. I swear it's not like something to sell you something. It's just to check your LinkedIn profile and see if it works. So we'll check that. So who actually is doing that right now? Just write something in the chat if you're doing it. I'd be curious to know that. I guess no one. Yeah, we'll see about that. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just, then we're just going to move on with that. All busy doing it. Lovely. Okay, cool. So let me just keep it there before I go a bit more into social selling and what it means for people. I'm actually going to check if I got some kind of, yeah, I can see already some ads. Yeah, that's perfect. Good. So yeah, just make sure you write something. Thibaut Suiris at Thibaut Suiris. That's my name. It's very easy. If you can't, like, I'm gonna start with the content. So if you can't see it, you're gonna, you just go and type, tag me with the at Thibaut Suiris. So let's get started. So for most people, like social selling is something that is either, one way or the other, and it's very intimidating to get started. So that's why I'm doing this kind of webinar today, is to actually show you, when you're a salesperson working for someone else, how to get started. So in general, what you see in social selling is this kind of thing. So people add you on LinkedIn and they pitch you right away, either in the invitation or after that you accepted the invitation. So here, Vivek, who's selling some kind of mobility, UX, web UI, something, is trying to pitch me something. Clearly, I receive like 10 to 20 messages like that every day. So I clearly don't watch. Sometimes I accept people, but I don't do anything. You have another type of guy who's like trying to get associated with me and my company, whatever that means. Like this person, I immediately like didn't accept him. And then you have like the worst, who's like doing like a huge thing. So they managed to actually get me in their network by accepting the invitation, and they kind of spread like all their knowledge. And typically this person is selling lead kind of enrichment on Upwork. So, no big deal, but you see how it is. So like they have 4 years of experience, but that's really a terrible way to do social selling. And another way that I found is also something that is not really, how to say, working well, is a lot of people who are kind of having some kind of overnight fame on LinkedIn. So here is a guy, yeah, I didn't mention him, but like he's in my network, who started posting in January, 1st of January until the 26th, and got 1 million views, which is huge. It's like a big organic reach. This person posted around, I think, 86 posts, and the engagement is actually really low. So it's the 23%. And the problem with this kind of content and social selling is that this type of person is looking for vanity metric. So they want views, they want like likes and stuff like that. And this is great. But the problem is likes and views don't bring anything. Like they just, bring you a small dopamine shot and you're pretty excited about that. But that's it. It doesn't bring you any business. And so that's like the two things, where either someone is trying to sell you something directly, or someone is just going with the vanity metric, where they're just like, oh, I'm a superstar, I'm a thought leader, whatever, and they don't have anything. So this person there doesn't have any offering, anything, and has no lead about it. And the post, you should see them, and they're just posting like, oh, I'm eating something there, I'm doing that, or yeah. And so it doesn't really make sense. And what I want to show with like this kind of social selling starter kit is that there's kind of a way in between that doesn't require you to become a thought leader, an influencer, or whatever. Because, let's be honest, if you're starting your career, you can't really go and be an influencer super fast. You have to kind of build it, go through the things that are, like not that easy. So if you're a sales rep or early junior SDR, you can't expect to kind of explode like that. So I'm going to show you my stats. You'll see here. Um, since I started in January, so January to 4th of March, I think is yesterday, I got 90,000 views around that. That should be around 92, 93 now, which is like 10 times less than this other guy. I got like an engagement rate of 1.6. And out of this, it's not displayed here, but I booked, how many was it today? Yeah, 26 or 27. That's like just for posting from 1st of February to now. I got 26 net new meetings booked just out of posting without kind of outreaching people, just posting like 25 posts. So for February. So that's what that's the kind of thing that I'm going to show you there, is how to create this kind of traction without kind of being like someone who's like super famous or whatever, because that's not the goal of this thing. The goal for me is to help you kind of stop using the phone or old-fashioned email and using like posting and creating content that is valuable so people can actually interact with it, and you can provide value and book net new meetings. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Let me check on the participants. So we have 16 now, going up. So the structure is quite simple. It's like content creation, network building, and outreach. And this kind of thing depend on your strategy, where you are, who you are selling to. But if people are, people who are making decision you are selling to are on LinkedIn, you can use that. And so in terms of content creation, that's kind of the first step that is also always really great. And one thing I see is that a lot of people are afraid of starting to post content. They don't know what to say. Often, you don't have the experience to talk. Let's say you just started a job about in sales, trying to sell to, let's say, CTOs or people who are very technical. You won't have their language. You won't understand when they talk. So what you need is to actually create some content that works for them, and it's super hard to do. But there's a very easy way to do that. It's actually to first build your backstory, and that's why I was like talking about like my experience building body pilots and selling airplane and washing, these kind of things, because it makes people kind of understand who I am. It's very authentic, and people really appreciate this kind of thing. I'm not showing off that I'm a super successful guy. I didn't rent a plane to kind of pose in front of it and be like, hey, look how much money I make, because that doesn't talk to anyone. I mean, that talk to people, but in general, not the right ones. So the idea is to find your voice and the personality that kind of fits with that. And what I really notice is like authenticity is really good. So if you are SDR just starting, people don't expect you to know everything. And if you go and you just like have 3 months of experience in sales and say, hey, salespeople, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, this is not going to work, because people can see in your game that you are not experienced, and this is really providing value to no one. So the idea here in creating content is to actually do a few things. Like you have creation, so pure content creation. There's around 1% to 2% of people doing that on LinkedIn, where you're going to create concepts and really build around it. And you have curation, where you actually kind of like a DJ, you're selecting tracks to create like a set. By the way, here's the proof that I'm a DJ. I also have my DJ set here, at home. And that's pretty similar. Actually, what you have to do is pick interesting things and provide like an experience to people who are listening to you. And so there, the curation is a very good, way to do that. I'll show you after in details how to do that. But it's just taking what thought leaders for example, in like the industry you're selling to are saying. So if you're selling to CTOs, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are kind of guiding on different, I don't know, kind of trends of development and everything. You can use what they produce and curate that. And the way to do that is just like take what they say, you kind of like repackage it and just like summarize things that you really like about it, and you really provide it to your community. And that does a few things. So it provides value to your customers, your prospect and people who are seeing you. And it positions you as someone who's like really curating content for them. And for that, you need zero experience. You just need to be, listening to trends and things that are important. And the best to do is kind of having a mix where you start with 80% curation, 20% creation. In my case, I'm playing a different game where I do a lot of creation because my goal is to kind of create some kind of content that people really like, that is kind of original, and then I can kind of like sell training around it. So it's a bit different, but it's that's my approach, and it's something that takes me a lot of time. But so if you go start with 80% mix and 20, like 80% curation, 20% creation. Then, and please, if you have any question, either write it down, or if you want this question to be answered, the best would be to write it now. I will answer maybe as I go along the way if you have something, or if or at the end. But just like go ahead and write every question you have. In terms of sorry, type of content, there's so many types of content you can actually use on LinkedIn, but here is an example of 6 contents that I actually use and that are really easy to start with, that I think you can try. So the first is what I call tactical tips. A tactical tip is just like something that is very specific that will actually help people solving something that they're trying to solve. So in my case, I'm selling sales training. So typically people I'm trying to sell to are either founders or head of sales, VP of sales. And the people who are benefiting from what I'm saying, what I'm training, are everyone in sales, SDR, account executive, sales leader, whatever. So these people, I can actually share a lot of my experience there and try to help them there. So for example, one thing that I did, I talked about base versus commission. What's the best split? So comp plan is something that is very complicated in sales. And this is something where a lot of people have like point of view. And whenever you're starting in sales or you kind of building a sales team, it can be hard to know how to compensate people. So here, so I go and start with the question, base versus commission, what's the best split for my account executive? And here I kind of give a bit more details on what I think is the best split and what people can learn from that. Another example, by the way, so this is all recorded, but you'll have access to the material. I'll send that if you actually sign up to, actually, you don't need to do that. You all kind of sign up, so I'll send it right away. But like another point that you can do is checklist. So checklist is something that is very simple, just like a point with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, I talk about Power Hour, which is like a way to organize a call competition for people who are, trying to book meetings. So I talk about like what are the 5 steps to do that very easily. It's very tactical because I say, hey, put your SDRs in one room, prepare a list of leads, create a point system, keep scores in real time with this software or this thing, and have 100, 250 euro Amazon voucher for the winner. And I just explained what's the trend, and I've got a lot of people who actually kind of started implementing that because they saw it. So that's the example of some kind of checklist that is very tactical. Then you have fails, which are great because everyone fails all the time. So this, you don't need experience, you don't need anything. And showing like something, a failure you encountered is something really beneficial to your story and your brand, because you will actually look authentic. So it's not about failing and being like, oh my God, that's terrible, and I just suck. It's like failing, showing what you did wrong and what you learned out of it. In this case, for example, I threw what I called an extreme anchor. So I went to talk with a customer, everything was going well. And then I kind of quote them like crazy. And they were like, I thought they would negotiate and they didn't do it. They just said they walked away from the deal, and I was like, okay, that's a big mistake. So I explained that. I've been very honest about that. And I'm sure you can find so many mistakes you actually do that actually can be interesting to people you are selling to. A good example, if you are selling to a CTO, you're SDR, just getting started, you're 3 months in the role, starting to kind of understand what you have to do and everything. You get a CTO on the phone, and you try to qualify this person, and the guy is like, my God, why are you asking me this kind of thing? And you just kind of lose the deal like that. It's a great story to tell. You say, hey, here's actually, I was talking with this amazing CTO. She was super dominant, like super really kind of crazy, and she kind of like shut me down and we lost the opportunity. Here's what I learned. I don't actually understand, we couldn't connect because we don't really speak the same language. And so, it's an example of things you can do. So being like really authentic and sharing your failures is really powerful. So powerful that I actually do it twice a month, and it always performed pretty well. Then you have something on questions. That's a really great way to actually get started with like a posting. So if there's one post you want to do actually to start with, is really a question to people you're actually selling to. So here, for example, first post of the year, I said, who are the B2B sales thought leaders in Europe? I tagged 4 of them, and I say, who are the other ones that I missed? And then people starting say, hey, you missed this one, this one, this one. The person who were tagged actually thought leaders with a big following base. And so they were really happy, they liked it and commented it. And so they felt really kind of valued with this kind of post. So it's really asking questions, really is a good way to engage people in your post. Let me check the kind of people, still 17. Then you have like a last point that I really like is free resources. So free resources are just like things, often if you work with marketing teams, They will create like white papers, ebooks, and put that behind a lead magnet. So typically you have to put your first and last name and an email to actually access the content. And here the free resource is one thing is to remove this kind of lead magnet thing and just share it to people if they actually interact with your content. So for me, I did 9 tools to help you land more calls and meetings. All the tools are free. And I gave like a three-part plan, basic, gold, premium. And basic is like if they like, they get the content, the tools. If they like and comment, they get the tools plus video strategies. And if they like, they reshare, they get all of this plus a free LinkedIn session. And so this works really well because then people kind of comment, like, and everything. And there's kind of virality there. You increase your engagement and your reach. So it's a good way to get started. Network growth. That's the second part of the framework. So again, if you have any question, don't forget, put them into the chat. There's really like, you can do it there. So we'll have some kind of questions to drive there. But I'll assume that it's all super clear. So there's no question. So do you have the coronavirus? Andy, that's a good one. I don't know. I don't think so because I don't have fever. And I've been, I think it's more like an allergy because I was in Spain and I'm allergic to spring things, where it's kind of like it's called the hay fever. So we'll see. But if I have it, no one of you will have it because it's a webinar. Thanks, Andy. I'll kick you out to the meeting actually. Anyway, so network growth. That's the second part of the framework, where once you have this content that is being created, it's about being intentional with people you actually try to reach out. So for that, what I like to do is to have like different strategies. But before I go more into details into soft connect and those kind of thing, there's a thing you need to understand is the way you kind of categorize people. So if you're in sales and you have a bit of experience, you know about like what we call ICPs, so ideal customer profile. So it's always great to have a clear idea of who you are doing that, you are selling to. So in my case, the decision makers, the people who I really want to talk to are founders, head of sales, VP of sales, or director of sales. These people really have a lot of decision-making power, and if I can convince them, that's going to be easy for me. So they are my primary target. And so the second is like what I call the influencer pool, is like people who will actually have benefit of everything I will actually sell to them. So it's anyone in sales like SDR, account executive, or everything. These people will actually have a good understanding of the of what I'm doing, and if I'm really tactical, I'm going to really help them. And the thing I'm trying to I tried and works really well is to actually engage first with your influencer pool. So if you do that, you actually connect with these kind of people with a soft connect. I'll show you after how it is, and you provide them value. And so at some point, if you post regularly, they will like, comment, engage with what you have to say. And they, when you do that, most likely, if you have a sales team, this sales team will be kind of connected with their manager on LinkedIn. And if they like regularly, their manager will see your content popping regularly. And so that's a really great way to kind of market a bit to this person indirectly. And once you are done, you can engage with your primary target. So here, a semi-personalized soft connect. It's personalized, not just the first name is personalized, but it's something that works really well. So hello Marcel, your LinkedIn profile popped in my suggestions and got my interest. I'd love nothing more but to see more of your content and updates. Have a great day, Thibaut. So this one works really well. You get 60 to 70% of people accepting it, because when you get that on LinkedIn, there's some kind of customization which works really well based on different industries. It can really vary. But what happens is if you don't put any kind of message, you kind of miss a shot to connect with someone, because a lot of people, they will refuse if there's no kind of compelling reason to accept. So that's why I really like this kind of thing, where it's a very easy message. You can copy paste and send 40 to 80 invitations every day, for example. Very easy. And so that is actually like a good way to do a soft connect with your influencer pool. And when you do that, you're going to build your network. You're going to create a lot of virality. If you have a content that people will like, interact, and that's going to be really valuable. And that goes really fast also. That's something where in a few weeks, you have posting, you can get already some great traction. Then you have what I call the personalized soft connect, which is like a fully personalized message that you can use for your primary target. So here's an example of Christopher Voss, who's like, he's not like someone I'm trying to sell to, but he's a very famous influencer or thought leader who wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. And here, I told, hey, I read the book, this specific section, I really loved it. The mirror, for example, is something my mom was using on me all the time. And so that, I got raised basically being manipulated by this technique. So he accepted the invitation, and so that's a great way to kind of be thoughtful when you connect with people and have them appreciating, like the difference. Because if you're trying to sell them directly something, they will refuse or they will ignore you. In that case, it's a bit more, I would say, sneaky, but it's yeah, you get like better chance to connect. Then one thing that is very powerful to actually for your network is to connect with thought leaders. So you don't want to sell anything to these people, but if you actually are selling to CTOs or CPOs, I'm sure they follow people who are, very important. In sales, it's very widespread. You have a lot of sales gurus, especially in the US. But something that is really interesting with the thought leader outreach is whenever you reach to thought leaders, you can start to be associated with them in a specific way. So I'll show you how. But one great way to do that is to do a list of influential people who are in your industry. So you just, you can find this kind of list very easily because these people are really everywhere. They do podcasts, webinars, they're all, all over the place. So it's very easy to go there. And that's the thing, they try to go for having attention and having people following them. And so that's one very easy thing to find. And on LinkedIn, you have different options where you have so you have you can connect directly or follow people. And when you follow people, they don't need to accept, they have a notification that you follow them, and you're going to see their content and be able to engage with it. So that's what I really recommend. Do a list of maybe 50 influencers or thought leaders, follow all of them, and you're going to be able to see their content. There's one question here from Aniko. Do you recommend to soft approach just one person from a company or more? I recommend more. Really make a list of people who are, potentially working with you. So I know you're working for, I think, an agency, or I think you're selling marketing solutions. Try everyone in marketing there. Like really try to connect all of them, because the thing is, if you have 10 people who are there, engaging with your comment is going to create a huge echo chamber for your primary target. So that's what I would recommend. So next one. So there's one thing that is, when you connect with your thought leader, so you have you don't connect, you follow them, you engage with their content. So you see a lot of content, and there it's really a good thing to actually like what they do or engage, post like thoughtful comments. And the way to be thoughtful is very easy. You can tag people who could benefit from that. That's very good because that increases the reach of the post of the thought leader. Or you can simply summarize something they said. If there's a webinar or a 2 minutes video, you can say, oh, I really love this because of this point, this point, this point. You put that into the post, in the comment. And what it does, it increases the reach of this person's content, and it's really beneficial for them. And that's really one good way to stand out, because no one does that. So that's a really good way to do that. And when you have these influencers, you kind of start interacting maybe 2-3 times, on their post every week. And so after a few weeks, or even after a few days, they will know who you are. They won't know you personally, but they will see your picture, they will see your name, and they'll be like, oh, that's someone who's following, someone who's highly engaged with my content. And when you do that, you can find a trigger. And the trigger is something that is very easy to find with thought leaders. It's typically something that resonates with you that you can use to talk about them. So a good idea to do is actually, when you listen to a podcast, is to be very specific of why you're outreaching someone. I'll show you an example here with Amy Volas, who's she has around 40,000 followers. And she's really, really kind of famous in the Silicon Valley in terms of recruitment for tech companies. And here I say, hi, Amy, just finished listening to your interview with Josh Brown in his podcast, learned a lot, especially on how to tag and not tag influencers. I'd love to connect to see more of your news and updates in my feed. Cheers. And she answered, and she really said, oh, thanks for the thoughtful feedback. She's actually known for being super harsh on invitations. So it's a good way to kind of stand out, because you show you've done the homework. And when you do that, people know about you, and then it's a lot easier to kind of propose collaborations, for example, or kind of be connected with these people. And the best you can do is, if you start posting content, these people, if you actually kind of engage with their content, at some point they will maybe engage with your content, and that's bingo, because then their community sees your content, and then it's some kind of reinforcing thing here. So engagement. So engaging is, if there's one thing you have to hold from this webinar, is to actually engage, comment on posts. If there's one thing you can start with is not post anything and just comment on posts. So you can find your primary target, your secondary target, or thought leaders, and whenever they post something, you can give a thoughtful comment. So there's different ways to do that. You can quote a key element of the post, as I said, or if there's a video, most people don't even watch the video, so they scroll through the LinkedIn. It's in pre-roll, so you don't hear anything. You maybe see like subtitles, but if it's a 2 or 3 minute video, most people won't actually take the time to watch it. And so what you can do, you watch the video and you summarize, let's say, the 3 points that you liked or the 5 points of the video, and you put it in the comment. So an example here, there was a video from Paris who did like a 1.5 minute video on how to create 15 videos in 15 minutes every day. And so here the video was really interesting. It lasted like 1.5 minutes. And so what I did, I just like summarized what he said. I say, hey, for summary for the lazy ones. And by doing that, you increase the accessibility of to the content, and you're really you're really helping this person how to say be more accessible and be more out there. So that's a very great way to do that. Very thoughtful, and people in general really love it, even if they have like a huge follower base. So I mean, guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, I don't even think they use their LinkedIn. Their marketing teams do that. But for most of us and most of the influencers in niche industries, it's quite easy to do. Then the last part, so I think, yeah, we have 10 minutes more. That's perfect, good timing, is what I call the proactive outreach. So here is like, if you're an SDR and account executive, you're gonna really love this one, because if you do just what I said, content creation, network building, you actually will explode. You know, will have a lot of results. So you have people commenting and engaging, and some people will naturally say, hey, so your post, really like it. Actually, can we have a talk? You know, because that's a problem I have. So that works like that. You kind of create your mini inbound machine, and you don't need marketing for that. But if you take it to the next level and do proactive outreach, it's a really good way to do that. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that, but what I like is a trigger-based outreach. So it's, the idea is to find a trigger that is relevant to outreach your prospect. So a good way to do that is to see what people are doing on LinkedIn or Twitter, Facebook. Like, people often are very kind of, they're sharing a lot of things, a lot of information. So you can use this kind of trigger, but a trigger is often something that shows that the prospect is trying to solve a problem that you actually, that your product is solving. So I'm going to show you an example of trigger. I booked a call with the company called I2X. Here's like a good trigger. So I'm doing like a lot of social selling training. And so one thing that you see often is like the companies, the marketing teams own the LinkedIn corporate page, and they post stuff. And it's always find us at the booth, or here's like we're recruiting like X amount of people in there, or here's like look at our nice lunch. And this provides zero value to your customers or to their prospect. I don't remember exactly what they sell, but I can tell you this provides zero value. So you see here, 1,800 followers, 11 likes, 0 comments. It's useless. So here I say, hey, I saw your LinkedIn company, like a company page is used for this. This is typically like providing zero value to you. And this is one reason why people often are kind of, marketing and sales are not really aligned, because marketing just tries to provide leads for cheap. They don't try to provide qualified leads. So that's a good trigger, So that worked actually. I booked a discovery with the head of sales there, thanks to that. And that's kind of the trigger. So think about it. If you're in recruitment, if people at home, like for example, who are here, are actually, you're selling like, I think housing solutions or this kind of thing. Think about what the people who are, for example, relocating staff for a while. So I don't know, can be travel managers, whatever, accountants. What are the problems they face with this kind of thing, temporary, like how you say, relocation. So you can really find this kind of trigger and use that for the outreach. Then you have what I call the engagement-based outreach. So this one is why, and that's why you need to start building some content, is because when you start to create content regularly, people will actually start to like, comment, post, reshare, whatever. And some people, if your content is correctly done, correctly targeted, some people from your influencer pool or primary target will actually engage. And that's a great way to talk to them. Say, hey, thanks a lot for the comment. Really like what you said. By the way, can we have a quick talk? Because that's something we typically solve. Or, I would love to see if I can, our solution can help you solve whatever problem. And so this is a great way to kind of, that's the easiest way, that's low hanging fruit. And so when you do that, you're kind of a bit of a marketing machine. that provides like you provide your own content, your own value, and it's not about what your company can do for them. It's like, here are the problems you have. Here's typically how I recommend to solve it. You don't need to use the product, but there's always a great way to solve this kind of thing. And this is really a good way to start the outreach. And when you do that, you reduce the amount of emails, voicemails, whatever you need to send. You don't need to do 100 dials a day. You just need to create good content, and then it's going to come and you're going to reach targets very easily. So then, in terms of outreach channels, so that's why I love LinkedIn so much, because the traditional ways is like either the cold call or email. And these are really either, like flooded things. So in Germany, especially emails in Europe are just like super flooded. You receive all the time emails, and calls, it's a bit different. It can be a bit hard with GDPR. So it's a bit like a gray zone. And a lot of people, like millennials, for example, I'm a millennial myself, but what we know how to do is to use our phone to send like snaps, do Instagram stories and whatever, but pick the phone to actually do a cold call, forget it. No one does it. So one good thing to do, and that's why I love LinkedIn, is because you can invite people. Once you have them, you can send them a LinkedIn message that looks like an email. You can send a voicemail. Great feature, by the way, if you don't know about it. Let me show you that. So it's in the messaging here. So it's the voicemail feature is only in the message. So you won't be able to see it. Sorry, it's only in the app, the LinkedIn app. And for example, here, what you can see, it's just like in WhatsApp, there's a small microphone button. You can record a 60-second message, voicemail, and this is super powerful. So I recommend to kind of start your outreach with that. You do soft connect, and then you send a voicemail. Really useful. You can send pictures, you can do videos that are native, so you can also record videos through the app directly. And you can also use stuff like Video Ask or Vidyard, where you record a video and you say, hey, I saw this, this problem, I'd like to talk with you. And so these are different kind of ways to outreach people that are very creative. And when you do that, you're very different from the rest of us, just like everyone's like sending the same generic messages. And so that's a good way to stand out. So don't forget, we are closing, going near to the end of the webinar. So if you have questions, just like put them here right now. But here's like a small few steps to get you started right away. So one thing I really recommend is actually, to getting started is actually to start by commenting. You don't need to actually create posts or have a strategy or anything. Just comment. You go to thought leader posts, you kind of summarize what they just said, or you put like, you tag people that could actually benefit from that and that's actually a very good way to get started. It doesn't take you much time. So do your list of thought leaders and just like start interacting with them. Then naturally people will actually, it's going to increase the reach of the thought leaders to your network. It's going to also position you as a go-to resource to kind of find problems your thought leaders are typically solving. And so it's going to kind of create people, then people will start going on your profile. You will see the stats that the number of views on your profile are increasing, and it's a great way to get started. When you have done that, so I would really go and do maybe 5-10 comments a day if you can. Then it's going to become something very easy for you. What you can do is actually, and so here's an example here, is to post 3 times a week. So don't start with like posting like every day, because at the beginning it takes a lot of time to kind of post content. I can tell you now, I narrowed it to 4 hours a week to create my content, so it's really efficient. But at the beginning, it can take a bit of time. So what you can do is start by posting 3 times a week. So one thing is actually to ideally start with questions. So the first thing you can do is kind of a manifesto. I'll show you is to actually ask a question here. So one thing here I did is like B2B founders and sales leaders. I'm curious, what are the most pressing questions you have regarding B2B sales? I often get these questions, any other question, and then you tag a bunch of people. When you do that, you get people to actually say, hey, typically, with the relocation, I never know like the legal compliance system, or, if I need to give like a per diem in Germany, or these are things, and then people will start listing questions in the comment, and you can use that, drive your content and what you want to do. So here I collected around 15 questions, and it drove like 4 weeks of content for me. So it's a good way to get started. And so, you have this first question you ask, then you can answer these questions regularly through tactical tips, checklists, different things you can actually create, and don't pitch your solution for a few weeks. That's a good way to actually get started with your manager, because a lot of you will tell me, okay, how do I do that? My manager will never let me do that. The good thing first is your LinkedIn personal profile belongs to you. The employer has no right to kind of tell you what to post or not. That's a universal rule here. So it belongs really to you. Just, make sure you stay correct. Don't post any political stuff, or, just stay in your line of business, but you can post whatever you want. And as long as you're not like doing something bad for the image of your company, you're fine. So that's the first thing I would say, is just post, find problems, post solutions. Don't mention your brand. Don't do that at all. And after a few weeks, you will see traction. It's going to be a lot easier to show, to say, hey, I booked like 3 net new meetings last week just with my content. Why don't we actually, put that at large? So that's a good way to do that. Uh, then you have like this is an example. So yeah, as I said, like for example, someone say, okay, what's the split between base and commission as an answer to my question? And I just like answered, hey, that's 50-50, 70-30. So that kind of fueled my content. And then one thing you can do, LinkedIn is kind of a weird place in terms of algorithm. So the algorithm is quite complicated, and what it does is it kind of like boosts content. So whenever you post content, it's distributed to a small amount of people. And if people comment and like and engage a lot, then it's going to kind of explode. So a good way to do that is to create a Slack channel in your company for links on LinkedIn. And every time you post a link, you enter it in the Slack channel, make sure people have their notification there, and people just ask people to go and comment and like. And please, like, they can react or whatever, but they have to comment something thoughtful, meaningful, say, hey, great thing, like not, oh, I love your post, or, it has to be a bit more thoughtful so it provides value. And when you do that, naturally, LinkedIn will do two things. It will understand that your content is valuable because people like and engage with it. And as people are actually in your company, it will legitimize. So it will make it will say, okay, this person is not a bot or anything, because this person works in a company and people at the company are liking this, this comment. So it's a great way to get started. There's different kind of ways around that. And that's why sometimes you see content that is kind of terrible, but has a lot of likes and engagement because people in the company are liking it, and it boosts the visibility. So it's a great way to get started. And I would say, if you just create the Slack channel, it's a great way to start with that. You can do a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, whatever you want to do. And then, yeah, so before I pitch, I'm just going to answer your question, Enrico. So I can imagine that those thought leaders are also competitors. What's your opinion on this? True, good thing. Thought leaders can be competitors, but it doesn't mean you can't like curate their content. So often what's going to happen, people will actually go and see your content, and often, it's just like, it's about providing information. And so just the fact that you provide information will also make you more legitimate. And one thing there's a saying is like, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And this really applies in that case. Because if you go and you kind of like hang out with the thought leaders and influencers, even if you kind of like are selling similar stuff, I do podcast interview with so many sales trainers who are doing exactly the same thing as me. But we know we have different approaches, different markets, different vibes. So that's more or less not a problem. That's what I believe. So now you can enter any question you have. There's just one thing I wanted to say. So it's time for me to pitch you something here that can be very beneficial, because what we saw was just the tip of the iceberg. So what I just started doing is actually for SDRs and founders is online training to get you more customers on LinkedIn. So it's a 6 weeks program where you get like access to the training. So it's every Thursday at 11, from 11 to 1. There's 1 hour and a half of content. So it's live content where I talk about that, and 30 minutes of Q&A. And so it's live. It's not like recorded and then, it's something there. So it's like really live. And you're going to have like up to 12 people. So I already sold 4 seats since yesterday. And that's really a good way to actually get started with LinkedIn. So the idea is like in 6 weeks, you'll have clarified your ICPs, clarified your profile, optimize your profile for your prospection in LinkedIn. You will have like strategic outreach strategies, and within 6 weeks you'll see early traction. And after I'd say around like 60 to 90 days, you'll be kind of at full speed, and that's going to be something that is very interesting. And so this training, is at the price of 999 euro. But for these things, so until February, I'm actually doing like a half price reduction. So it's like, not this, it's like half price, so 499. And it's like minus 50% as seen on TV, and you're going to have like a lot of value for your money. So If you want to go there, so you can just like apply to the accelerator. The discount of 50% is valid until tomorrow evening, midnight. And sorry, if you want a discount, it's very easy. You just go, I'll send it also with the videos, but like you go, you can scan this QR code or just do a screen capture, or go on bit.ly/Sales Labs LinkedIn. And just before, I enter the questions, you have a toolbox that I'm also going to send you, where here it's an outreach sequence example. So that's the first thing you're gonna, I'm going to share. So like a 5-step sequence with voicemails, soft connect, personalized connect, ICP matrix, the LinkedIn online training, video ask, my HubSpot meeting link if you have questions. And to access it, you don't need to do anything. I'll just send it your way. But if you want the discount, it's over here for the training, and go fast because there's quite a lot of demand.